What's up, chess player? Welcome to the Journey to Grandmaster, the place where you can improve every aspect of your chess game. And today we are gonna work on your strategical and tactical skills at the same time, because I'm gonna play this 10 minutes game and I'm gonna explain all of my decision making process to you, and hopefully you can get as much out of it as possible. We are gonna play the Slav defense here. I'm playing against 22-34 rated opponent, so pretty strong one. He's playing bishop g4, trying to be as active as possible from the very beginning. Let us do the same thing and play knight a5 with the tempo. I mean, frankly speaking, I kind of never understand this type of moves, because I'm winning a tempo, I'm placing my knight in the center. Why on earth can it be bad for me? Hard to understand. Yeah, bishop d7. So queen b3 feels very tempting with a double attack here. And yeah, bishop d7 can be right. I mean, if I know something about chess, you're not supposed to play that way. Although, of course, black's position is very solid still. It's not like I can crush it immediately here on move 5. But if you make 3 moves in a row with the same piece and you're not getting out of it anything, and the piece is back to the initial squares, then definitely something went wrong. Okay, so let's just continue the development normally. e6. Bishop f4, I guess. e3. Bishop e2, castles, and we have a completely normal position, just with some extra time for white. Or maybe, yeah, no, it's too late for that. I was thinking about the move e4, but knight f6 stops that. I mean, I understand the queen might be not that great on b3, but also not that bad. And also the knight on a5 is good, because taken on c4, I can take with a knight. Yeah, you have b5, but yeah, hard to say. Maybe I should have just taken on d5 first, because I'm giving my opponent some time here. I'm not sure about the move knight d5, to be honest, because that gives me a chance to play e4 at the right moment with a tempo. Maybe not immediately, because I might have some weaknesses there. Let me just castle first. It's always great to make sure that your king is safe before you're going for some very active actions. The alternative was rook d1, to make sure that after knight b4 I have bishop b1 and the rook is not blocked. Because now after knight b4 I don't have such an opportunity, but should be able to deal with it somehow. Even if I just play bishop e2, the knight on b4 is still misplaced, so it's not a big gain for black. And now obviously I have more pawns in the center. I should use it, put my rooks in the center, play e4, and yeah, just try to crush my opponent, maybe even d5. And I mean, he's still just beginning his development, and of course his bishop on c8, as every time in such a position, is the biggest problem. Okay, now I feel like it's time to play e4, because d4 pawn is protected. Yeah, he might just go back and say that it's nothing special. Maybe knight h5 is coming, and I don't really want to lose my bishop, so maybe I'm gonna start with h3, just to make a luft for the king and make sure my bishop is secure. Maybe I should have played e4 though, to make sure that b5 is not an option. I thought that, well, now this pawn is another weakness, but yeah, now my rook is misplaced. Now it should be on along the c file, not on d1. Yeah, I feel that somehow I missed a few important details here. I have to stop the c5 move. That means I have to bring my rook back to c1, admitting my mistake, which I don't really want to do. And then play knight e4. a5. I thought he wants to play a6 to prepare the move c5, but apparently he has another idea in mind. but I guess that helps me. I mean, a4, I just go back. But how are you gonna play c5? And now I even have this knight d3 idea, which is gonna shut the c5 forever. c5 dreams. Yeah. Wait, there is also a pawn hanging on h7. I feel that my opponent is missing it here quite a bit. Yeah, the drawback is after bishop h7, king h8, I cannot stop c5 because knight d3 my bishop is hanging. And if I go back, then c5. So maybe it's more important for me to stop the c5 move than to win a pawn. I really don't want to allow the move c5. Because this bishop on b7 is so miserable now. Okay, he goes all the way for f5, but I mean, you should not play chess that way. And f4 is also not an option because I have knight f4. It's just too many weaknesses now. The question is whether I want to play bishop c5 because he has takes. I take with something, maybe with a pawn. And then f4. Takes, takes. Yeah, that's not a big deal. We're still playing without this bishop. And the e6 pawn is going to be horribly weak. And I have two beautiful bishops. Yeah, knight c5 is a cool move. Because it's also a double attack on the bishop and the pawn on e6, so he's basically obliged to exchange it, and then everything is good. He might come up with, okay, rook f6, protecting the pawn, and preparing some kind of attack, maybe rook g6. But I still like knight c5. Nothing has changed with the previous variation. And otherwise, just a move with a tempo. And next steps, okay, he takes it. Next steps should be connected to the move e4, trying to get to those pawns. I have two bishops now, so I have to open up the position. Yeah, he has some attack, I have to admit that. For example, e4, f4, takes, well, that still feels great for me. Maybe d6 over there, and I have bishop against bishop, but I mean, this one is so miserable. Wins a pawn on g3, but does it really matter? e6 is very weak, c6 is very weak, and d6 is just a monster. Yeah, e4 seems very interesting. Except for f4, I don't see any moves. Knight b4 doesn't bring you anything at all. Maybe not queen c3 because of knight a2, but just queen somewhere. Then, yeah, queen b1, queen b1. It's great there. Then f5 is hanging. Another idea is just to play bishop d6 first, preparing the move f4. Sorry, e4. But somehow queen g5, knight f4, you start getting some feeling that this attack might be something. So I'm gonna go for e4. Because if he's not gonna find out something right now, then I get a pretty good position out of it. Maybe you could sacrifice a piece. f4 takes... No, wait, the pawn on f4 is hanging. I thought you might take with c pawn back, and then if bishop goes back, e5, you have 3 pawns here in the center, but f4 is just hanging. And like I said, if you take on g3, well, I don't even lose a pawn actually. I thought I'm a pawn down there, but I'm not. Okay, here I thought about queen b1. Maybe there is queen d3. But, I mean, the endgame should also be very good for me. I'm also not obliged to take the queen. I can just proceed with taking on f5. Okay, queen e2 is another option. But it doesn't really change much in terms of queen d3. Yeah, hard to say what is the best way to continue here. I feel like queen b1 is the simplest way, so let's just stick to it. Because it also still attacks the f5 pawn, it protects the a2 pawn, prepares rook d1, or maybe this one. So I feel like queen d3 is basically the only option. Otherwise, I'm also threatening a3. But no matter what is happening here, no matter which variation black chooses, there is always this problem with the bishop. I mean, it's not gonna be better for him anytime soon, and he has to live with that. Right. Well, I really like the move rook d1, to be honest. I do lose a pawn though. But rook d7, can you really survive there? Bishop a8? How do I proceed? Still not that simple, and that knight is coming back. Maybe I have underestimated it a little bit. What if I control the b4 square for the knight? Can it get away somehow? Yeah, I feel like I have to play rook d1, and then let's decide. What do we do? I didn't want to exchange the pawns because it kind of helps black to feel a little bit safer here with the rook. But I'm really curious whether... I mean, I can start with rook d7. He has to go there because bishop a6 runs into rook a7. And then I play rook d4 back. And I'm basically threatening rook a1, winning a piece immediately. e5 is not a move. Maybe it is. Rook a6. Okay, he doesn't go for taking the pawn, which is weird, because here I have bishop d6 with a tempo. I definitely want to play it, because otherwise he's gonna play f4 and my bishop is stuck. And then I'm gonna play a3, and where the knight should go. No, rook f8 is definitely a mistake there. And once I make sure that this knight is going away and not coming back to d5, then I'm ready to take or even play e5. Although, yeah, maybe e5 is closing the position too much. With a pair of bishops, I really need to open it up. But like, really, where the knight is going? Yeah, rook a8. Because you have no time to take, the rook would be hanging. I mean, you can sacrifice in exchange, but it's not gonna really help. And now this knight is just as bad as this bishop. I mean, that's crazy. Okay, how do I convert it? I guess I just need to double my rooks. For now. Rook d4 seems like an active move, also stopping b4 just in case. 5 is still not a move. I mean, black has no active options at all. Maybe 5 does make sense, because it kind of makes sure this rook is never going anywhere. Especially now. It's even better. I mean, let me do it just from aesthetical point of view, because look at all of black pieces. You are not gonna find any single active piece at all. I mean, that is crazy. That is a real positional masterpiece here you're witnessing. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you do, hit the like button. It's really gonna help me to see that you like the content, and of course, help it to spread to more people. Okay, so now one threat is h4 and bishop h5, just winning this exchange. And I don't really see how you can stop it, to be honest. I mean, you can play h5, but that at least sacrifices a pawn, or loses a pawn, better to say. Yeah, he wants to remaneuver his knight. Maybe I should just exchange it. Because one exchange doesn't solve his problem, and my bishop on d6, I mean, it's not doing that much anymore. And if the knight lands on d7, it's attacking all of the pawns, it's gonna be more difficult for me. So I guess it's time to change the nature of my advantage. Now I'm noticing another idea I had. Bishop h5, rook g5, and bishop e8. And then this knight is not going anywhere at all. Yeah, but knight a6 back, bishop g7, king f7, and then knight b8 back. And my my bishop on d7 is kind of weirdly placed. Yeah, that was also winning in every case. But okay, here I thought I have this h4 idea, and I don't see how you stop bishop h5, except for playing h5 yourself, which would cost you a pawn. Of course, rook d6 is also a very good move here, but it's not gonna get away from me anytime soon. But yeah, I enjoy having such a positional advantage here so much. I mean, I can imagine how miserable you should feel playing as black. Something like that. Okay, he decides to sacrifice an exchange rather than a pawn. That's fine for me. I don't really have h5 idea, rook g5, and somehow playing f4 because he's gonna be the first one to play. F4, but now I'm not really in a hurry to take. But he's coming with f4, that is something I don't like. Maybe I just take and play f4 myself, so that in this entire game he doesn't get a single chance to be active. Yeah, he's trying to do that with his king, but I hoped that I'm in time to stop it. Just g3, king g4, king g2. He has g5, but that's not good enough. Yeah, maybe I should... Yeah, rook d7 was completely winning instead of g3. Because the bishop is hanging and then I take on g7, cut the king. That was simpler. But, of course, it doesn't really spoil anything. Rook d7 is coming, forcing the queen's exchange, and the game is immediately over. That's actually the thing about having such a bad piece. The more pieces you exchange, the more clear it is that this bishop is so horrible. And in the end of the day, if it's the only piece left on the board, then it's exactly what makes sure that you're winning. So that is why I'm willing to exchange the rooks here, so that I'm the only one to get an active piece here. Okay, let's take. Can give a check. King g4, rook g7. Or I can just play rook king f2. Yeah, let's go rook king f2. Just to protect those pawns, to stay on the dark squares. I guess that would be nicer in terms of finishing this positional masterpiece. And then those pawns will fall. Okay, he has to sacrifice, but it doesn't help because all of my pawns are on the dark squares. That is a dream case scenario if you are fighting against light squares bishop, to have everything on the dark squares, including the king and the rook, so there is not a chance for black to attack anything. Yeah, I mean, that is very nice. Here, I hope you have learned a thing or two out of this game and you would be able to repeat the same concept in your own game. For some reason he doesn't want to resign here. Yeah, but now it's a checkmate. So, hope you enjoyed it, hit the like button, and in this video you're gonna see another amazing game, very instructive, so definitely take a look at it to bring your chess to the next level.